Okay, great. So Ryan, we were talking about treatment centers and then how, you recommend the 12-step program, as do I, because it is free and available to everyone. And I absolutely love it. My best friends are now, I met them through the program. And that was something too, how you said you had a life overhaul. I dealt with that too. When I got sober, all my friends still drank. It was okay because they weren't an alcoholic. So there was no reason for them to ever stop because they could have a glass of wine and be done. And I was like, how can you even leave a sip left? I would obsess about that. And so I just didn't have much to relate with them anymore. And so even though I have so much support and, all of my dance studio people, when I kind of went public with what was going on in my life, I received so much mail and I was so loved. And I depended on that support. I needed that. And my first year of sobriety, I'm sure as you know, and I just will ask you that real quick about like what you feel like the first year struggles are like, because I feel like the first year is where you see the most relapse. For me, it was very foggy because I just never been sober in so long. I also got diagnosed with lupus. So I had a lot of things that happened in the first year that were, I had been having these symptoms, but I had been drinking pain away. And so, I can't dance right now. And that has been really difficult because I'm now taking classes, and it is super humbling to be the student. And you talk about that in your book, like watching, the drummer play when you were on the sidelines and just how hard that was. And I'm going through that right now. And it's really difficult because my feet are, I got severe neuropathy for my drinking. So my nerves are shot, and people don't talk about this stuff. Again, I mean, if someone would have told me 5 years ago, if I stopped drinking, then I'd get to dance for another 10 years, I would have stopped drinking just because of my love for dance. But I didn't know, and my feet were always burning. And I just figured it's because I was teaching too many classes or I was on my feet too much. And then as soon as I got sober, I mean, it feels like I'm walking on lava. And the first time you get, addiction in your medical chart, you are no longer allowed to have pain medicines, which I did not want because I have an addictive personality. So I would have just switched that, to switch to that. And so your book was so encouraging. And I think that it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, for me, it was a dance studio, but at some point, I feel like everyone has a point in their life that they're proud of. They're like, I did this, it's like the stories we tell. It's like, well, when I this and when I traveled here, it's just it's the makeup of who we are and how we identify. And when I took away alcohol, I couldn't identify with people that way. You take away dance, I couldn't identify that way. You take away my old life, my old state, like everything. It was like you said, it's total overhaul. And it's like very overwhelming and very easy just to make that one decision and be right back where you were, which seems comfortable, right? Like I sometimes confuse serenity, which you talk about in your book, which is like peace of mind, with boredom, because I'm so hyperactive and always go, go, go. And then it's like I stop and I'm like, okay, nothing's happening in my life. What is happening? Nothing's happening. What's wrong with me? So there's so many emotions that you go through. But your book was so encouraging because you're able to share what life really was like, but then you're able to talk about what life is like now. So what is it like now in the life of Ryan Dusick?
Well, first off, thank you for sharing all of that about your journey. That's really vulnerable stuff. And to deal with the physical ailments on top of just the reality of returning to sobriety, that's a real challenge. And the fact that you've maintained your sobriety is really amazing and a testament to the kind of recovery program you're working. So kudos to you for that. My life at this point, just keeps kind of growing. Started with me walking out into the world again from my little existence of drinking till I passed out on my couch every night to, just kind of rediscovering myself in some ways, remembering that I had certain talents and gifts that I had forgotten about or that I just had not nurtured in years, and then discovering some new ones. And that led to this journey as a mental health professional. Um, and I'm working full time in that field now. I'm working at a clinic called the Missing Piece Center for Anxiety in Agoura Hills, California. And I have some of my own clients. I'm starting my own practice. I'm going to be launching a website soon, and I'm going to be obviously an author and speaker and life coach. So, a lot of stuff. My life just kind of keeps expanding, and each day that goes by that I'm living this life of recovery, one step leads to the next, and it kind of just leads me to a path that feels comfortable and sometimes feels overwhelming and challenging and scary. But now when that happens, I'm more intrigued to see where that will take me and what I can learn from it, and look at it as an opportunity for growth and for new possibilities, as opposed to the old, version of me that would have been so terrified that I would run in the other direction and want to escape it, or avoid something that was uncomfortable. So, I don't know exactly what's going to be in the future. I know where I am today. And I know kind of what's on the horizon with my book coming out and stuff, but I'm just, again, to be cliche, just taking it one day at a time and doing what is indicated for me today to have a meaningful life, to live a purposeful life, and being of service to others is a big part of that. So it's giving back in any way I can, whether it's working with people one-on-one or speaking to a group or putting out this book that hopefully will reach some people that need to hear the message.
Oh, it definitely will. I know it will. And I'm so glad I got the opportunity to read it before I interviewed you, because I had heard you on a podcast and I was actually surprised. I was like, wow, that's really cool that Maroon 5 has somebody in recovery, because we kind of have this, little clique thing that we love, because we lean on each other for that support, because it it's a true addiction. And really what the addiction is, addiction of more, right? It's just more of whatever it is that we are craving. And so that's why we can relate, an alcoholic can relate to somebody who's dealing with drugs, alcohol, porn. I mean, I have a really great episode on my podcast by Joshua Shea. He's a TED Talk person, and he talks about addiction and pornography and how huge it is in our day and age. And addiction is on the rise. And so thank God we're all starting to recover out loud about the things that make us uncomfortable, to say. And I commend you. I commend every other woman and man that is willing to do that, because it takes a village. It really does. It takes all avenues. I know for me, I can't just go to an AA meeting, like you said, right? It's like I have therapy. I have to do different things for myself. I listen to podcasts. I listen to music. I go to church. There's things that I have to do to keep myself centered. And I've learned how many character defects I have, which is incredible. And I'm extremely apologetic a lot in my life, and your book talks about that. Like you say a lot, you do a lot of amends in your book, in the sense that you're like, my perception was this, but really this is probably how they took it. And I really like that. So do you see yourself writing another book, or you said you're going to be doing talks, or how do you see yourself going forward after this book?
I absolutely want to write another book. Like I said, I had forgotten how much I loved writing and how much of a passion it was for me, because music became my life for so long and so much of my identity, until I went back to school and I started writing again, and then wrote this book. And people talk about how hard it is to write a book start to finish, and it is a lot of work, but it didn't feel like work to me. It felt like one of those things where time just kind of had no meaning while I was working on it, because it was an enjoyable process. So I want to write another book just for that reason. I enjoy the process. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be saying in my next book. I would love to think that I'll write a novel also someday. Every writer fantasizes about that. But yeah, again, it's just whatever the next thing the universe kind of puts in my path. I'm sure that there will be good reason to write something about it. So when that opportunity comes, I'll step forward into it.
Your family has to be so proud of you, and Sean especially, because she's throughout the book and she absolutely is your biggest supporter. And you obviously are still in touch with Adam Levine and the band, and I think that that's incredible. And there's such hope in that message, because you kind of like represent like losing it all and finding recovery, but I feel like you gained it all and found recovery, because your book is about your life and the lifestyle that wasn't working for you, but you wouldn't have gotten to where you are now if you didn't go through all that, right? So it's just pretty incredible. I am so grateful to you. I had such a good time, and I had a great time talking to you off air too. And is there anything that you wanted to ask Sober Onions or Crystal in California, who we're not even that far from each other, which is funny?
Well, I just wanted to congratulate you on, first off, your sobriety, but this journey that you're on now, sharing what you're sharing with the world. It's such a great opportunity to reach people that need the message that you're bringing. And so, congratulations on doing some great work and being of service.
Oh, thank you so much, Ryan. Well, you guys, like I said before, Ryan's book, Harder to Breathe, is being released November 15th, but you can pre-order it now. And if you love the podcast, want to support the podcast, it's at buymeacoffee.com/soberonions. And with that, I am Crystal Morrell. And remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank